so that's the second observation. I'm going to ask kind of the same question to start. How do you feel things went?
Basically, it's a mixed feelings. Part of it I did good in my understanding, and part of it I think has scopes for doing better, much better. Yeah.
So where do you feel you would like to improve?
Maybe I should keep more patience because they are only grade 1 and they will be unruly in the classroom. But the first hand, I think I should think of the classroom management so that they cannot be unruly. Number 1. Number 2, I think once I missed a girl was sitting when they were doing the group work, and when I checked they were together, but when I went to other groups, one of her group mates didn't include her, so I should have been more observant and should really take care of that. And I think my instruction time, when I was about to make them do the group activity, before that I took a lot of time to explain what they are going to do. That took some of my planned time away. Yes, and at the end, when that behavioral issue came between the two boys, I had to make an adjustment to my plan, because now if I let the boy go with not saying sorry to the person who complained against him, that would make the boy get an excuse to be or excuse to misbehave with his friends, because it's his issue. He has behavioral issues. So I focused on making him say sorry, and that actually upset him, and then he was really crying a lot. So
I didn't see him crying, but
he was crying a lot. Even
after I left?
Even after you left, it took about more than 5 minutes for me to control him. And I had to really give up with all my plans, and I had to take care of it, because in my understanding, I cannot let one of my students crying and then I cannot continue my class. This is my understanding. So I had to make an adjustment to the exit ticket. I couldn't do the exit ticket at that time, but when I could control, I had to stop the video and I controlled the classroom environment. I talked to both the guys, and then I did the exit ticket again. But I think I did one thing good, that is when one group came with the pattern error, I made them understand that they had to redo it. And after you left, when things were settled, I made them do it again, and this time they actually did it correctly.
Okay, that's one of my questions, because I did write, you had told me that you were going to have an opportunity to do desk conferencing or going around, and I saw that. You went, you gave some feedback, but for the activity where they were gluing, would it have been a better step to not have them glue when you did your initial correction, before they glued? Because after they glued, to make the correction, how did you adjust?
I had a set of extra set of pictures.
Okay.
And I gave them because if they don't have the wrong one in front of them, this is a example for them that this is an error. Mm-hmm. So I gave them extra construction paper and extra set of the pictures, and they worked together to glue it.
Okay, so you gave the feedback. They identified yes. There was an error. You had them. Now I had to leave.
Yeah.
You know, I was I had PYP meetings, but they were given feedback, so then they had a second opportunity with new, and they re-glued.
Yes.
Good.
And finally I made them.
I didn't know you had that last stage where they could do it again.
Okay.
Because I thought maybe it would have been better if those were the only sets.
Yeah, you're right.
Don't glue the first time, put it, and then have the error check. And, oh, no, there's an error, check it before they glue. But
I also believe that students learn from their mistakes, and when they learn from their mistakes, they learn it forever. But if I show them, then that learning remains with some, and some really forget it. So that's why I preferred that. And finally I made them put it up on the wall. So now they can see what they have done.
Feedback is powerful. It's one of the best motivators for learning. Relevant, timely feedback. So I think feedback could be something that even takes more of the lesson time. You can dedicate even more time, because there was one point where there was a real opportunity for them to show their understanding after the video, where they could have showed you that they remembered the AB. That's the easiest one. Then you could have just focused on the AB and see who remembered or whatever. Then the ABC pattern, a little more difficult. Same idea. Take some time. Who remembers the ABC? And then you would, see who remembered. And then the ABCD, really complex. A real good solution for this would be to have a checklist. You knew that in the video there was an AB pattern, an ABC pattern, and an ABCD pattern. Have all the children's names on the side, have the AB pattern, ABC, ABCD, and just by observing, a check for who is getting the AB. So for example, I noticed that Sakuya wasn't doing the dance or the motions for every one of them, right? So your checklist, you would have, maybe the AB pattern he would have had, but he didn't have the other two, right? It's just an example of, having that checklist, that rubric, because our minds, anecdotal observations, we do that a lot, and we can remember a lot, but if you're going to be assessing, in this case, you are trying to assess students based on this activity. Having that checklist where you can refer to it when you go later, when you're filling in the report card for that. Just a suggestion that a simple checklist. If you had like a table where you always have the student names there, and then the criteria at the top, you can erase for different days, different assessments, but you always have that list of student names, the table. If you prepare that checklist goes a long way sometimes. When you're watching an activity like Jack Hartman, watching them do something, there's so many doing it at once, so you can quickly do a checklist, because they did the pattern 3 times, then he moved on to the next pattern, and then you were going to give them an opportunity to do it again if they did well in the activity. Once again, anyone you didn't get on the checklist the first time, that next time you show it, okay, now I'm going to be watching this student because I didn't get them this time. And you could do that a few times, like over 3 or 4 days where you do that same video until you've got, oh yeah, the checklist is now good. And oh, by the way, now Sakuya, on day 3, he's able to do it now. You can put the number 3 and now he's got a check mark, right? So checklists, sometimes it's the easiest way. it might not be a weighted or an unweighted rubric, right? It's just a checklist, but it can be very useful for jogging your memory about certain things when you're actually evaluating, coming up with you know, an assessment on the report card, your final evaluation. What I think you did well, you told me one thing that you thought you did well. Anything else you felt you did well?
I think my instructions were clear, and I think I could make them, I could make almost all of them, I could engage almost all of them doing their activities. The glue stick was causing problems, so at some point I could make the correction, like I asked them to put the glue stick under the desk, so I think the class management was not that bad. It was like
it was pretty good.
Pretty good.
But you just mentioned something that because you had classroom helpers?
Yes, I had. I always take help of my classroom helpers to do certain activities like.
And you've got the class trays that are labeled really clearly.
Yeah.
Glue sticks could go in one area.
Yeah.
The math sheets can go in another, but having a blank, a desk that's empty when you are having them try to focus on, because the beginning was focusing on your words.
Yes.
And focusing on the written words that you did it today, you were thinking out loud and writing at the same time. You did it once, I saw.
Also, when I gave them the instruction, I knew that they'll forget. So I wrote on the board what they should be doing. And also I reminded them of the classroom agreements. Like focus on work or collaboration. Collaboration is a tough word, so for their grade level. So now they have learned it already, and now they know that they need to group and they need to work together in a group. So these things I could manage.
Now, your group work, you had the group list set up, and you had a plan. It was a strategic grouping of students. What I would suggest is giving different members of the group a different role.
Okay.
Remember that student you said who was sitting out? It's because you had an alpha leader who just started doing everything, right?
Yeah.
But if you, in group work, if people have a designated role.
Yeah, that is very nice, but my point was, I'll try this definitely next time.
Okay.
But my point was like leadership is a quality that a student actually automatically takes up. Like when you are in a group, if somebody has a leadership quality, he or he will take it up.
That could be one of the roles.
So that's why I wanted to check like how they do it together. So except for only one individual case, you have noticed that all of them were working together. So actually I was going from group to group and saying like,
yeah, you were giving feedback.
Yeah, I was giving feedback and I was asking them, okay, give him the picture to put the glue on the back. You decide where, and then finally the girl who was causing problem, I asked her, okay, you can do one thing. Or because the new girl has language problem, she couldn't actually be in the group. So the leader of the group was complaining to me when I was going to give the feedback, and I said, okay, you can just tell her that, okay, put this picture here, this is our pattern, because this is also part of it. You need to plan. So this way you can include her. So this is a learning process, and this is only the 3rd week. So I think they'll learn eventually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had a strategy, you had something in mind.
Yeah.
So try the roles at one point when you feel.
Yeah, this is actually a good idea.
Well, what it does is it designates, and you can switch the roles. On a different day, someone else does this. You rotate the roles. But at one point, people didn't necessarily know who is going to do what.
Yeah.
And of course, then it's the leader, that strong personality who just takes over. Whereas if you have roles, everyone is engaged. So you remember pies, Spencer Kagan pies? The S is simultaneous interaction. When everyone has a role, everyone's engaged and is doing something at the same time. So just something to think about. But I understand what you were looking for. So, you know, you had something in mind. Roles would not have allowed you to see who the alpha leader was.
Yeah, because this is my beginning days with them.
Okay.
So yeah.
The timer on the screen was very good when they did that activity. Giving the personal feedback and the focus on success criteria was very good, and the students could actually respond to what you were saying. So you did the visible, thinking out loud, and the visible was good. And once again, the students knew 1, 2. You didn't write 3, but they knew what the third activity was supposed to be. You didn't write it, but based on how you unpacked it and what you did, the students, they were able to tell you what was coming next. I'll talk about Tepe. When you were worried that maybe you shouldn't have taken time out to address what was happening. Well, what you could do, because he had to be, addressed. It had to be addressed. You can't just let that go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to set a precedent.
Yeah.
So, getting some resolution was very important. However, what you could do is redirect everyone else to continue what they're doing, and you could just work with Tepe,
Yes.
send him back. But you don't want the focal point to be you addressing Tepe for something that was outside the activity. Now later, you could then, there was a lot of loud voices.
Yeah.
It got too loud.
At the end, yeah.
Yeah, so coming back to the essential agreements, inside voices. But the Tepe thing, respecting others, you can, at the end of a lesson, you can always go back to your essential agreements and remind students then. Like it's a learning opportunity, a learning moment. But in the middle of your activity, you don't want the focal point to be Tepe having to say sorry. You could deal with him and say, okay, everyone, keep working. Tepe and I and the other boy involved, we're going to try to figure this out. Now, one of the students did help you, and Tepe eventually did apologize. At the same time, food for thought, getting students to remain on task sometimes means transitioning them to another area. Okay, everyone, let's get to the carpet. Oh, Tepe, you wait here. I'm going to talk to you. Once they're, because with the too loud, when they're getting rambunctious like that, do you remember when they were all at the paper? Every single student almost was there, and they were all talking.
Yeah.
That was too loud, too chaotic. But you could, at that point, the minute you saw all those bodies and all those voices, you say, oh, stop, everyone, go sit on the carpet, please.
Yeah.
The carpet, that's the beauty of having a carpet. That's a focal point. Kids can understand that direction easily. Oh, everyone, go sit on the carpet. Because even when you ask people to sit at their desk, they didn't go right away. They were, because you focused on something else, and You gotta get them settled, then continue. So let's call it, this is a new goal. When things are kind of getting, let's not call it out of hand, but things have escalated to a point where the students aren't focused anymore, a reset moment. Oftentimes it is as simple as, okay, everyone at your desk please. Or, oh, everyone sit on the carpet please. Quickly. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now the first couple times, kids haven't sat when they're at 1. Uh-oh. That countdown's important. You need to be on the carpet. Anyway, you got to figure out a way to make sure that they understand. When you get to...
Yeah, we have that give me 5.
I saw that.
And also...
That's
like,
why I'm using this, because you already have that.
I have this, yeah.
That reset on the carpet, everyone. No longer standing in front of you, grabbing paper or using it, like everyone was talking. I felt for you because, you know, obviously you'd prepared all these things and it was a well-prepared lesson, but without that reset, the kids they were overwhelming you.
Yes.
So, but, Mava, it's happened to me. Don't be upset. It's a strategy. Reset moment. Every teacher does it.
Normally we do it, I also do it like in other classes, but today like part of me was also thinking that it's being recorded and you are there. And
act naturally. Do
so,
what you would normally do.
So yes, and it just happens so suddenly, and normally this type of things happen almost every day. Like somebody is upset and somebody cries a little. I do handle it all the time, but today what Tepe was doing was like...
Well, I'm talking about when they were all trying to get the paper.
Yeah.
That's a reset moment.
Yeah, that's it.
Because it was loud and if everyone was around you and I'm going, okay, this is where I was waiting. This is where a reset moment was very crucial.
Yes, I got it now, yes.
But today you did your speaking aloud, thinking and speaking out loud. You know, the thinking out loud was really good, and you wrote while you thought out loud. That was one of your goals. So keep doing that. That can be powerful. You know, the use of the whiteboard, the projector, the utensils, okay? You had everything ready for the lesson. As you said, the utensils, have them somewhere accessible, but not on the desk when you are asking them to focus.
Yes.
There was also one student was doing something with a pencil.
Yeah.
Right?
It creates noise.
Yeah, but it's a simple, you know, it's coming, you've got it ready, you know what they need, and you had all the stuff ready, all the utensils were ready. Just waiting until it's time for them to do it. And because you have those, you call them substitutes, your classroom helpers, you call them substitutes, okay? Because you have them, you know, they are going to help you when it is time to get the utensils and all that stuff. They're going to help you. Everyone else is sitting, focused still. I like your class trays, really good. Oh, the extra worksheet was good. You know, when some kids finished, but they didn't go sit down. When you asked them to sit at their desk, I didn't see them actually get the extra worksheet. But you mentioned it, right?
Yes, because at that point, it was few seconds actually, because I could see all of them were done with their activity.
Okay.
So if I give them an extra worksheet, then others would be without any work.
Okay.
So just I took few seconds, and at that point I asked the substitute, because she is the one who finishes early every time. So I asked her to go and collect. So this way I made her busy, and I did one thing with Sakuya, who is very slow, and his understanding is also not of the level of other
You
students.
gave him less on his
I
worksheet.
gave him less work.
Yeah, and I saw, and you gave him feedback. You said, "Oh, good, Sakuya."
Yeah. So I said, okay, if you feel, you can carry on.
Yeah. So I read that in your student diversity section. You were going to do that,
Yeah.
and it did. It worked. Yeah. So I think a new target goal, a new strategy for classroom management is the reset.
Yes.
When you talk about Tepe and Ruli, we're never going to accept, unruly behavior. We're never going to. So, but having a reset or a way to let the ones who are still on task to continue, because they shouldn't suffer.
Yeah.
It's just like pies,
Yeah.
Spencer Kagan. The simultaneous interaction. No one should be twiddling their thumbs, but when you stopped with Tepe for that thing, everyone else was now focused on that and waiting.
Yeah.
When,
Something will come to them, or yeah, I understand.
well, they're no longer engaged in the activities. And it's unfortunate that this happened, but it does happen.
Yeah, I should be ready for that.
Yeah. So, the placement of the video, really good, right? You had an explicit instruction where they were engaged, having to listen. They gave some responses. And then you had a fun and kinesthetic, we call it kinesthetic activity. So that the lesson was broken up nicely. Just at the very end, it got really loud. It kind of got chaotic because you didn't have that reset moment. And I think with a reset strategy, you would have had a really smooth ending. Yeah. So anything you want to, like, you can once again photocopy.
Yeah.
Anything with a check mark, I'm saying, I'm pretty happy. And if it's just an arrow,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily there yet. It's an area for growth if it's an arrow. But if it's a check mark, that means I saw good things.
Yeah. Thank you.
Two check marks here. Those class trays, that's a good classroom management permanent
Yeah.
fixture in your classroom. Very good. And the classroom helpers, the substitutes.
I have actually for different other jobs like class monitor, then lunch helper, so different designations are there.
And on here, once again, this is the rubric, having a checklist.
Yes.
I tell you, we remember a lot as teachers, but we can't remember everything. So that's where our checklist or our little rubric, especially if it's something that you are assessing. And in this case, it's for your course. Sometimes we don't have a checklist for every little activity we do.
Yeah.
But, all right.
Thank you.
Oh, unless you want to ask any questions.
No, now next time I'll just keep it in my mind that I should go for a reset moment and checklist, and the idea of checklist is really good for me because this is going to also help me control the people who are sometimes unruly in the class, because if I show them that if they see me checking,
That's right.
so it's going to
Let
make,
them know you
yeah.
have a checklist.
Yeah.
So you want to really do your best, even though it's a dance or it's a movement with Jack Hartman.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be fun. I also want you to do your best because let them know what your checklist is. Oh, that's very important.
Yeah.
students should know what the rubric is, even in grade 1.
Yeah.
Let them know. Let parents know too. Remember what we're doing with the negotiated syllabus, and we're giving parents a lot of voice, getting feedback from parents about the unit of inquiry. Let parents know when you have a checklist you're doing that, post it on the Google Classroom.
Okay.
So tomorrow we're doing this activity. It's about patterns. There's a video, Jack Hartman, and there are 3 movement patterns. There's an AB, there's an ABC, there's an ABCD. I've got this checklist, so I'm going to be watching to see who can do the pattern. Now, after today's lesson, why don't you post that video?
Yeah, okay, I do that.
Create a checklist.
Yeah, because last time I did with the storytelling on kindness, I posted it on Google Classroom, and I asked the parents to watch this visual reading and then discuss with the children.
Yeah. So, what you can do, you've got a list of all your children's names already, copy and paste that. So create a table, depending on how many success criteria. For grade 1, let's have 3 success criteria places. So the list of names, it's a table, and then 3 success criteria. In this case, your first rubric or your first checklist, the first column is AB pattern, second column is ABC, and the first column is the names of your students. Second column is the AB pattern, third column ABC, and the fourth column ABCD. Now, you don't have the data because you didn't do this checklist today, but post this checklist, post the video, and say to parents, we did this video today during a math lesson where we're learning about patterns. This is the checklist I'm going to be using tomorrow. I'm looking to see who can learn these patterns. Now, they're going to probably do a little practice at home.
Yeah.
Anything wrong with that?
I don't have any problem.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's going to tune parents into, what are you doing? What's tomorrow's focus for math? Well, it's patterns.
I'm going to do the same for spelling. Today we had a spelling check because tomorrow they have a spelling test. So I did that, and I took a photo without the child, just the photo. So I'm going to post it on the Google Classroom, so that parents can see that they're practicing, what children are practicing in the classroom. And since they have the same test tomorrow, so I hope that it will help them to do a little practice at home tonight.
We're not trying to fool anyone.
Yeah.
We're showing them. This is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And then, they do a little practice, and then maybe they're more successful tomorrow than they would have been if you don't post it tonight.
Yeah.
But create that checklist and post that video. Very easy to do on Google Classroom.
Yeah.
And you might see some interesting results tomorrow when you actually go through. Now, as I said, it might take a couple days because you got a lot of students. Maybe you're watching a couple and you're doing, maybe you just say, today I'm going to be focusing on, just for yourself.
Yeah.
Don't tell the students. But today I'm focusing on these students.
That's where actually comes the data that we are going to do as a part of our activity, the data collection. So I'm going to sit and I'm going to put the data, like the performance of my students. So definitely if I would have the checklist, it would be more easy for me.
Yeah.
But now actually I'm going to sit and put the percentage for the students' performance. So we have 3 criteria, and for that I'm going to put the things.
Okay.
So the data we have started from last video, and we are going to continue it till the 5th one. So we are going to see the change, the progress in our students' performance through that data.
Okay. That's all I have. If you want to photocopy this,
Yeah, thank you, Peter. I'll do that, thank you.
You can turn off the video.